Hey everybody, Scott here. Hope you're having a great day. This is the second video in our series on our San Diego development in the City Heights neighborhood. In this video, I'm actually going to show you the property the first time, make you privy to the initial interview that the architect did with us to find out our goals, and our first walk through the property with him and our contractor. Before we start, I want to let you know that the video is absolutely terrible and I apologize for that. We had a brand new gimbal and my wife and I shared the video duties and it came out terrible. Most of it was my fault, as I was an expert at chopping people's heads off. However, I thought the audio was pretty important, so I left it in, and just please excuse us, hope you learned something, and we will try and get better. So without any further excuses, let's take a look at the property. All right, so this is the neighborhood. You can see across the street there's been some new construction. That's brand new on the left there. We've got some newer apartment buildings over here. We are on our property just outside the higher density zoning. And then here is our entrance. I'll see you later, Walter. Those of you familiar with San Diego, we're on Marlboro Avenue in City Heights. California's new ADU laws and San Diego's desiring for higher densities have made this project possible. This is the existing unit. The previous owner only owned it for about 4 months, but he replaced the flooring. Big issue here, and let me back up and see if you guys can see this, but we have a serious bow. You can tell by the gaps over here under the baseboards. There's a massive tree out front and the root system is causing problems. So that, along with the roofing issue I'll show you in a little bit, is dictated that we're going to take this unit down too. Gotta love the job some people do here. They hung a bathroom door that goes directly into the toilet. Well, if you guys know most tenants, that is going to last about 6 hours before the door breaks. So we're going to rehang that door. So our plan is to rent this out. Normal rents are $2,900 a month. We're going to go $2,500 for short term. There's a beautiful wife, like Corey. So basically all we've done is we added the stove and the washer dryer is coming today and a refrigerator. Now if you look out here, a couple more things on this unit. As you can tell, we've got some pretty serious dry rot issues up here all the way across. Hot water heater is not strapped, it's outside, so nothing's to code here. So we will be fixing everything. Obviously this unit's actually going to come down. Now this back unit is even more of a disaster. Let me give you a quick walkthrough so you can see. We don't feel comfortable renting this out, so we could get about $1,500, $1,800 pretty easily, but this is just not how I want people to live. However, one of our contractors people lives in the area in a higher density living arrangement, and he's offered to stay here to kind of keep an eye on the property. So what we're going to do is let him stay here rent free, and then he's going to help us out on another property, just do some odd jobs in exchange. So it works out really cool. But this is also a 2-bedroom. I can tell the lighting's terrible in here, but this unit's just terrible. We had to pay $10,000 cash for keys to get a squatter out of here before we closed. We split that with the seller. That'll give you an idea of the outside and give you some ideas of a lot to mention. So there's a little driveway here, and then garage. This will come out also. So about 120 feet long, I believe. The whole lot is 7,000 square feet. What we're going to be able to do is put a total of 8 units up here. So we will replace, we'll tear the 2 units down to one wall and then rebuild them and end up with 4 basically duplexes. 3 of them will be dedicated low-income housing. Alley access is key. It makes it much easier to get into these properties, and then we'll do some parking back here. But you can tell there's a lot of space. So one thing we decided is we've got to take these trees out. They're just way too big. Neighbor saw me here and came over and asked me if I was going to trim them. I said, we'll take them all out. And he just clapped his hands. He was really happy. You can just kind of tell the root system here is also very invasive. And so we got to get those out.
So tell me about your overall goals and the ideal tenant, the type of unit type you're thinking.
Okay, so the idea is we want higher density, obviously, but we want really solid units. We want a good living experience. So, like, for example, this property, this house here, it's not up to the standards, and we've been going back and forth money-wise. If you keep this, we can do a total of 7 units.
Yep.
If you take this down, we can do 8. But the 8th is a low-income housing, so we're actually, by tearing this down, we're only going to get an extra low-income housing unit, which for the added cost of the building, maybe $250,000, we're getting another $1,500, $2,000 on the rent.
Yeah.
It's not worth it financially, but for my wife and I, it's more of our philosophy with anything we manage or own is, we might not like the neighborhood, but if our house burns down, we're going to be able to move into it. So it's going to be kind of that standard of living, and that's basically because of that. Even though it doesn't make financial sense, I think we take this down to one wall and then just do it right.
Right. Describe the ideal tenant.
That's a good question. I don't really necessarily have an ideal tenant. Basically, the things I check for is, especially when we do a small community like this, is we do credit and evictions, but we also do criminal. And I don't want anybody who has got a drug dealing conviction or any child sex predators. That's pretty much our limit. But other than that, if you can pay the rent and you don't piss off the neighbors and everybody can live together, doesn't matter to me. With 2-bedroom, 1 bath, I'm figuring we're probably 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I figure we're probably getting in a lot of single parents with kids. It's not a desirable school district, but it's what they can afford. So I've got a feeling, and because of that, we'll want to make security pretty tight. Gated entrances. Just as we're trying to rent this, I'm seeing a lot of mothers come in with kids, and so I want to make sure that they're protected.
Yeah, got it. Maybe describe your experience in kind of the development field and.
So I was vice president of land acquisition for a developer about 20 years ago. So basically, I'd find the land, perform it, get it into escrow, and then hand it off, and somebody else would do all the entitlements. Had a radio show back in 2011, did a lot of 2 to 4 unit analysis, put a lot of people into properties, and then because of that, I've been managing them. We also have a resale business where we sell homes, but we have a plan where we go in, loan the seller money, redo the kitchens, the baths, whatever needs to be done so that they make more money. We pay to close the escrow. So I guess the best way to say it is I've got experience in bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. I've never carried a project all the way through. So this will be the first project. We're doing one in Poway right now, which will be our primary residence, so kind of doing 2. So it's going to be a painful learning process.
Yeah, well, I'm here for it.
There you go.
Let's talk about, obviously want to do in-unit washer dryers.
Yeah, in-unit washer dryer. I was thinking a unit lower and a unit upper because of the square footage constraints. And we've talked a little bit about the fact that we can do small stairs, and I like to get a single washer dryer underneath them, so that would make sense. So interesting to see what plans you come up with there.
Got it, yep. Watching all these walls except a little portion.
And the slab.
Yeah. Yep.
More workable wall there is.
Yep.
I think we're gonna have to take that tree out in front just because of the roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all coming all the way over here.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could just slice the roots and not do like a root barrier?
The tree's so big.
Yeah.
I think you run an issue with the stability of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I think with that tree out, and we'll have to replace it, but when you replace it with something a little bit smaller, it's going to let more natural light onto the property.
Yeah.
The other thing, security-wise, is fewer places for the bad guys to hide.
Yeah.
is better, especially in this neighborhood.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about cost saves here. So fire sprinklers. So since this existing dwelling unit is not fire sprinklered,
Okay.
no fire sprinklers across the board. That's a big cost save.
Okay.
I want to talk about unit size. So if we can keep all of these units under 750 square feet, we're going to get around development impact fees and the transportation fee.
Okay.
So
Well, I think the average one is 5,200 divided by 8
yep,
is,
it's like 650 something.
yeah, so we're good with that.
650-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. School fees. School fees is going to be required across the board.
Right, that's by square feet.
Yeah, that's $4.79 per
Ooh,
square
it's
foot.
up a bit.
It is.
I haven't done development in 20 years, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
470, so that's, all right, so we're looking at 27 grand-ish.
but we can classify this existing square feet
Okay,
towards those new school fees.
okay, so take 1,300 out,
Yep.
so we're adding 3,900 at 466, okay, 17 grand. I was actually anticipating a little more, so that's good.
Yeah, and then there's gonna be plan check fees on top of that,
Okay.
right? Okay, so let's walk the site, talk about some parking spots. I think we all know the parking is gonna be off of that back alley, but let's talk about access and maybe potential views.
Okay, and another question is, where is trash pickup? Is it front or is it the alley?
In the back.
Okay, so we just need to provide, that'd be much easier.
Yeah, and I think what we can do here, because you're gonna be required to do three trash cans, a trash, a recycle, and a greenery now
Uh-huh.
for each ADU. But I think what we should do here is do some type of dumpster pickup.
That makes more sense.
Because
Yeah, like we did at Laurel, yeah.
Yep.
even then, with the dumpster, they would still require the greens and the recyclables.
Yeah.
But it's much better because everybody fills up, but it's 49th is track.
Okay,
So dumpster is the way we're gonna go, hopefully.
okay.
hmm
Yeah.
I think they charge for that though, right?
Yeah, it's, I forgot what the fees were.
It was like 150 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just build that into the rent,
Got it.
so that's not. Yeah, if they're paying for the water and electric, I can handle the dumpster, because
Yeah.
the water and electric's the big one.
Okay.
We got into, we were like $10,000 away from getting into escrow on a threeplex. And the problem with real estate agents is they don't know how to list multifamily. They're like, oh yeah, tenants pay for everything. So we finally got to go out and write. I'm like, there's no extra water meters, there's no electric. Call the owner and check.
Yeah.
That's a $600-700 a month hit.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it didn't make, we're out. Sorry guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the separate water meters and all that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And there's no way to divide that between all the tenants, huh? If it's just on one bill.
Right. Yeah, because somebody's like, they got 5 kids. Something.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have 5 kids. Oops. Yeah.
Could you charge that by the tenant, by how many people are in per unit?
You could, but just doing the separate meters, if we can read it remotely,
Yeah.
that'll just be the easiest.
Yep.
We will be able to read it remotely, right?
Yeah, they Bluetooth.
Okay.
Yeah. wireless.
Okay, so let's walk the site.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that at least these two are worth keeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Me too.
tough. I mean, I love trees. Don't get me wrong, but
No, but we'll put trees here. But I mean, maybe are there limitations on what the trees are supposed to be?
you need a 24-inch box minimum when you're planting a new tree. So it's not a mature tree,
Okay.
but it's
But I mean, like, could we do fruit trees or something like that, where the people benefit from? Hey, we get apples or we get peaches or something like that.
100%.
Okay.
Now they would take them out and different trees.
I think that's a good idea. I
Okay.
like that. Possible fruit trees.
Hi, beautiful. No, Walter, I wasn't talking to you. I said hi, beautiful. I said no, I'm not talking to you.
Let's talk about like some type of communal exterior space. Do we want more of like a private exterior open space for each unit, or a communal area? Which could be kind of nice. Maybe there's like a communal barbecue or.
Yeah, but I can see fights.
You know.
I'm having friends over. I'd rather they have a private,
Okay.
kind of like under the overhang I was talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So some obvious decisions are parking off of that back alley, right? I think we can get 5 to 6 parking spots, especially if we don't put them on paper, because then you're just gonna put lines in after permit, right? The power pole is obviously right there. So
Yep.
we're gonna have the power coming down just right on this front building, whatever's closest to that guy, and then
Alright.
sub it out.
So we don't have to, yeah, trenching is easier than having to run it farther than that. Yeah, okay.
Right. Access. So solar orientation, that's about east, right? So if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
East, west, south. So the winter sun is coming on the south side. So maybe we do some overhangs if we have any windows on this side, just to eliminate solar heat gain. And in the summer it's right across, so maybe we do like a, I don't know, 24-inch overhang if we have windows on this side, right? Have you guys taken a drone up or anything, or any potential views?
We have not. I don't think we've got much view because, so this property ends the zone for the high density, so higher density there, here, and there. It'll be lower here, but he's already blocking most of the views, so I don't think views. It's going to be more about privacy than views, I think.
Yep. Yep. Righty. Anything else? You guys have in mind?
Are there going to be washers and dryers inside the unit?
Yes,
Or we're gonna have
stackable.
community washer
No,
dryer?
inside the units.
Okay.
I don't want to deal with the fights,
All right.
the issues we have. Yeah,
I mean, you could charge for them. Have the coin laundry.
I'll just give it to him and charge him extra rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Is there going to be room
Privacy.
for all this inside each unit?
well, his idea. So I was worried about the stairs. His idea is do a smaller stair and stick the washer dryer under it.
Yep.
So then we actually recapture that space we lose with the stairs.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's overflow storage. I mean,
Yeah,
the units are going to be tight, so we got to maximize every.
yeah.
every
It
percent
might
of that.
become a pantry or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Privacy and security. Are we basically going to have an open style parking?
I think. What do you mean by open style parking?
Well, eliminating that
That
gate.
gate.
I don't really see any operational gate with how many parking spots we're going to have, because they're going to be perpendicular to the alley. So I don't really see.
And how are you going to keep people from using those spaces too?
Well, I think you just have a tollway sign.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Walter, you know this neighborhood better than I do. How important is security? I mean, I was initially thinking we do a locking gate front and back for safety wise, but if the parking's open, that kind of eliminates.
Park is open, but we definitely need a gate kind of similar to something like that. Like those side entrance to the property, but
Yep.
What about a gate that
We just do a,
electric gate that everybody has a? Except then you won't be able to get the cars in and out.
unless it
like that.
slides.
yeah, no.
If it's a sliding gate, you can't get one if it
Yeah.
opens.
I think we just expose the parking and then have the gates in between the buildings to get
Right.
into the
Yeah,
Okay.
property.
That's
Yep.
better.
Okay.
Now, if somebody gets hurt outside of the gated buildings, are we liable? Because
That's why we have insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just-
Yes.
Anything else? Any questions for me?
What questions should we be asking?
That's a good question.
Well, okay, so a couple things. Rough timeline for first thing is when I have to have people out of here because we're demoing. And second, for pro forma wise, when do you think we'd be done with something?
That's a great question. So let's go over the phases of design. Okay. So here we are in phase 1, right? We're starting the project, and this is where we're at the client interview. After this client interview, I'm going to take existing dimensions on the entire lot, so we know
Okay.
exactly what we're playing with, right? I mean, even though this guy's getting demoed for the most part, except one wall, that guy's getting demoed for the most part. It's critical to really understand what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Take measurements of where these trees are located, just in case we want to keep them, but really understand the existing conditions of the lot.
Okay.
Okay, so once we complete phase 1, which is the site analysis and client interview, we'll jump into phase 2. This is the schematic design. This is going to be a kind of a rough first concept about layout and massing of the property. Okay,
Okay.
It's very rough, no floor plans, but just spatial diagrams to understand it in regards to access, parking, maybe potential views, just to get it on paper and really understand it.
Okay.
Because it's critical for when we jump into design development, because everything that we've established in the schematic design, it's going to influence the design development one, and that's where we do show floor plans, elevations, roof plans, potential dumpster location, parking, and renderings too. So you're going to be able to visualize the space.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have 3 design development meetings. Okay. This one is going to be my best take at the design. Once we meet about that, I'm going to take your guys' notes, influence the design development 2 meeting.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that one, and then we have design development 3 meeting, which is the combination of design development 1, design development 2, and design development 3. So by the end of this meeting, we should have a pretty finalized design.
Okay.
Because that's when I'm going to get other engineers involved, structural engineer and Title 24 consultant.
Typically, from now till DO3 or DD3, what's the timeline?
Well, this is going to take about 2 weeks to produce.
Okay.
So in 2 weeks, we'll start the schematic design. That's another 2 weeks. And then I really like to have 2 weeks in between design development meetings.
So we're talking about 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So 2.5 months. Okay.
Yeah, 2.5 months. And then engineering and construction drawings is about a month to a month and a half timeline.
Okay. So let's call it 4 months. Okay.
Yeah. And then phase 5 is permitting, and that guy's 4 to 6 months. So
So we're 8 to 10 months. So we can easily do like an 8-month lease here and then go month to month, and we won't run into problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
The city is saying that they get first reviews back within 60 days, which I've never seen happen. But I mean, like I said, if they're late on reviews, I'm emailing them right away, emailing their supervisor. It's the best I can do. But
Yeah.
I take it to a certain extent because you don't want to annoy them, right?
Right. Then it backfires.
Right. So phase 5, that's permitting, and then after a couple of rounds of reviews with the city, we're ready to start construction.
So figure about 10 months. So we're sitting in June. So we're talking about probably April, May of next year to start construction.
Yeah.
And then build is about 5 months, 6 months.
Yeah, probably 5-6 months.
Okay. So
It's
we'll
gonna be simple. So
Yeah.
Simple.
If you made it through that amazingly low quality video, I thank you for sticking with it. Hopefully you learned something. In the comments section, in the description, I will stick a link to the first video in the series where we went over the financials. And in the next video, we will be taping a Zoom call that we're doing with the architect to go over initial designs. So once again, thank you very much for sticking with it, and I hope you learned something. Till next time, make it a great day.